The fluorescent lights in Northwestern Memorial's pediatric wing hummed like dying insects at 3:17 a.m. Nurse Maya Chen had been on her feet for 16 hours straight, covering a double shift because Sarah from day shift had called in sick again. Her scrubs were wrinkled, her dark hair falling from its ponytail in exhausted wisps, but none of that mattered. Nothing mattered except the tiny body in room 407, her daughter, her Lily. Maya's hands trembled as she checked the monitors for the 100th time that hour. Oxygen saturation dropping, heart rate irregular. The numbers told a story she couldn't bear to read. Her 3-year-old daughter was dying, and there was nothing she could do to stop it. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. Come on, baby, she whispered, smoothing Lily's dark curls away from her fevered forehead. Hold on. Just hold on a little longer. But hold on for what? The transplant list stretched on forever. Lily's name sat somewhere in the middle, just another sick child among thousands. The experimental treatment doctor. Reeves had mentioned cost $300,000, money Maya would never see in her lifetime, not on a nurse's salary, not with the mountain of medical debt already crushing her. The monitor's alarm shrieked. Lily's oxygen levels plummeted. Maya's training kicked in automatically. She adjusted the flow, checked the IV, her fingers steady even as her heart shattered. This was the third crisis tonight. Each one brought them closer to the edge, to the moment when Lily's small body would simply give up the fight. Please, Maya breathed, not sure if she was talking to God, to fate, to the universe itself. Please, I can't lose her. She's all I have. The alarm finally silenced. Lily's numbers stabilized barely. Maya sank into the chair beside the bed, her legs no longer able to support her weight. She was so tired, tired of fighting, tired of hoping, tired of watching her daughter fade a little more each day while she stood helpless, armed with medical knowledge that couldn't save the one person who mattered. A soft knock at the door made her look up. Doctor. Reeves stood in the doorway, his face lined with the kind of exhaustion that came from delivering bad news too many times. Maya, he said quietly, can we talk outside? Her stomach dropped. Nothing good ever started with those words. In the hallway, Dr. Reeves pulled her to a quiet corner away from the nurse's station. His expression was grave, compassionate, utterly defeated. Her kidneys are failing, he said without preamble. The infection has progressed faster than we anticipated. Without the treatment. How long? Maya interrupted. She couldn't hear the details, couldn't bear the clinical explanation of how her daughter would die. Dr. Reeves hesitated. Days, maybe a week if we're lucky. The floor tilted beneath her feet. A week, 7 days, 168 hours until Lily was gone forever. The treatment. Maya said desperately. You said there was an experimental protocol. In Boston. $300,000, doctor. Reeves reminded her gently. And that's just for the first round. Most insurance won't cover experimental treatments. And even if yours did, I don't have insurance that good. Maya finished bitterly. I know. She'd checked. God, how many times had she checked, calling insurance companies, filling out financial aid applications, begging hospital administrators for help. Every door had closed in her face. Every avenue had led to the same dead end. Her daughter was going to die because Maya couldn't afford to save her. I'm so sorry, doctor. Reeves said, and she could hear that he meant it. If there was anything I could do, I know. Maya said numbly. Thank you for trying. She walked away before he could say more, before the pity in his eyes could shatter what remained of her composure. She needed air, needed space, needed to think. The hospital's rear courtyard was deserted at this hour. Maya pushed through the heavy door into the cold November air, her thin scrubs offering no protection against Chicago's bite. She didn't care. The cold was good. It cut through the fog of despair, made her feel something other than helplessness. She pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Her bank account showed $273. Her credit cards were maxed out. She'd already borrowed from everyone she knew, already sold everything of value she owned. There was nothing left. No options. No miracle coming. Maya pressed her forehead against the brick wall and let the tears come. Silent, desperate, the kind of crying that came from a place beyond words. Her shoulders shook with the force of it. 3 years of single motherhood, of struggling, of fighting, of loving that beautiful little girl with every fiber, of her being all of it crashing down in this moment. "I can't save her," she whispered to the empty courtyard. "God help me, I can't save my own daughter." The door behind her opened. Maya quickly wiped her eyes, trying to compose herself. A patient, probably, or another nurse sneaking out for a cigarette break. She should go back inside anyway. Lily might wake up scared. Might need her. "You all right?" The voice was deep, rough, tinged with an accent she couldn't quite place. Maya turned. The man standing in the doorway was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive black coat that screamed money. His dark hair was slightly disheveled, his jaw shadowed with stubble. But it was his eyes that caught her, dark, intense, carrying a weight that suggested he understood suffering intimately. "I'm fine." Maya lied automatically, the response of someone who'd been handling things alone for too long. He stepped into the courtyard, letting the door close behind him. Up close, he was even more imposing, not threatening exactly, but powerful in a way that had nothing to do with physical size and everything to do with presence. "You don't look fine," he observed, pulling a pack of cigarettes from his pocket. He lit one, the flame briefly illuminating sharp features that might have been handsome if they weren't so hard. "You look like someone who just got the worst news of their life." Maya laughed, a broken sound. "What are you, a psychiatrist?" "No," he exhaled smoke into the night air. "Just someone who knows that look." Something in his tone made her study him more carefully. He wore exhaustion like a familiar coat, his expensive clothes unable to hide the shadows under his eyes, the tension in his shoulders. Whatever had brought him to this hospital at 3 a.m, it wasn't anything good. "My mother," he said, as if reading her thoughts. "5th floor. Stroke. Been in a coma for 2 months. "I'm sorry," Maya said automatically. He shrugged. "Life is suffering. We endure what we must." The fatalistic words should have sounded callous, but instead they resonated. Yes, she thought, we endure what we must, until we can't anymore. "Your turn," he said, leaning against the wall beside her, maintaining a respectful distance. "What brings a nurse to tears in an empty courtyard at 3 a.m? Maya opened her mouth to deflect, to lie, to maintain the professional distance she'd always kept with patients and their families. But something about this stranger, about the darkness in his eyes that matched her own despair, loosened her tongue. "My daughter," she heard herself say. "She's dying. 3 years old, kidney failure, and there's a treatment that could save her, but it costs $300,000 that I'll never have." The words tumbled out faster now, desperate. Like if she said them quickly enough, they might hurt less. "I've tried everything. Every loan, every charity, every program. No one will help. No one can help. And in a week, maybe less, I'm going to have to watch my baby die because I can't afford to save her." The man was silent, his expression unreadable in the dim light from the hospital windows. Maya laughed again, that same broken sound. "Sorry, you don't need to hear this. You have your own problems. Everyone has problems," he said quietly. "Not everyone admits them." He took another drag from his cigarette, his eyes distant, calculating. Maya could almost see thoughts moving behind his gaze, some internal debate playing out. "This treatment," he said finally. "In Boston? The experimental kidney protocol?" Maya's head snapped up. "How did you—" "I make it my business to know things." He crushed the cigarette under his expensive shoe. "Dr. Patricia Morrison runs the program. Success rate is 73%. Much better odds than waiting for a transplant." "You seem very well informed," Maya said slowly, unease prickling up her spine. "I am." He turned to face her fully, and in that, a moment something shifted in his demeanor. The casual stranger was gone, replaced by someone harder, someone who commanded rather than conversed. "What's your daughter's name?" "Lily," Maya whispered. "Lily Chen. Why? And you would do anything to save her?" The question hung in the cold air between them. Maya's heart hammered in her chest. This was the moment in horror movies where the desperate person made a deal with the devil, where everything went wrong. If you find this story engaging, please take a moment to subscribe and enable notifications. It helps us continue producing in-depth content like this. But Lily was dying upstairs, her small body failing, her time measured in days. "Anything," Maya said, the word absolute. "I would do anything." The man studied her for a long moment, his dark eyes seeming to see straight through to her soul. Then he nodded once, a decision made. "My name is Dante Caruso," he said, "and I'm going to save your daughter's life." Relief crashed over Maya so suddenly she swayed on her feet. Dante's hand shot out, steadying her elbow with surprising gentleness. "I don't understand," she managed. "Why? How can you—" "The how doesn't matter right now," Dante interrupted. "What matters is getting your daughter to Boston. Tonight." "Tonight?" "But the doctors, the insurance approval, the transfer papers, will be handled." His voice carried absolute certainty. "I'll make the calls. My private jet will be ready within the hour. You'll fly to Boston with a full medical team. Doctor Morrison will begin treatment immediately." Maya's mind spun. Private jet, full medical team. The casual way he spoke of things that cost millions of dollars. "Who are you?" Dante's expression didn't change. "Someone who can help. That's all you need to know right now." "Nothing is free," Maya said, her nurse's practicality fighting through the desperate hope. "What do you want from me?" His mouth curved slightly, not quite a smile. "Smart question. Most people don't ask until after they've accepted help. I can't afford to be stupid, not with my daughter's life." "No," Dante agreed. "You can't." He stepped closer, and Maya caught the scent of expensive cologne mixed with cigarette smoke. "I want nothing from you that you're not willing to give. No repayment, no debt, no strings. That's not how the world works. It's how my world works when I choose." His eyes held hers, dark and intense. "Your daughter is innocent. She deserves a chance at life. Consider this my good deed for the year." Everything in Maya's training, her instincts, her hard-won survival skills, screamed that this was too good to be true. That Dante Caruso, whoever he really was, had to have an agenda. That accepting help from a stranger would cost her in ways she couldn't yet imagine. But upstairs, Lily was dying. And this stranger was offering the only lifeline that had appeared in 3 desperate years. "Okay," Maya breathed. "Okay. Yes. Please, save my daughter." Dante pulled out his phone, already dialing. "Go get Lily ready for transport. I'll handle the rest." Maya ran. She burst back into the pediatric wing, her exhaustion forgotten, adrenaline flooding her system. Dr. Reeves was at the nurse's station, writing notes. "Dr. Reeves," Maya gasped. "Lily, we're transferring her. To Boston. Tonight. For the Morrison protocol." He looked up, confused. "Maya, we've been over this. The cost is covered. Someone's arranged everything. Private medical transport, the full treatment program, everything." "Who?" "Doctor." Reeves's confusion deepened. "Maya, what's going on?" "I don't know," she admitted. "But I don't care. Someone wants to help. We need to get Lily ready to move now." Before Dr. Reeves could respond, his pager buzzed. Then the phone at the nurse's station rang. Maya watched his face change as he answered, listened, his expression shifting from skepticism to shock. "Yes," he said into the phone. "Yes, I understand. The transfer will be ready within the hour." He hung up slowly, staring at Maya. "That was the hospital administrator. We've received approval for emergency medical transport to Boston. Full costs covered by an anonymous donor. Paperwork is being expedited." He shook his head in disbelief. "Maya, who did you talk to?" "A miracle," she whispered. "I talked to a miracle." The next hour passed in a blur of activity. Lily, blessedly still asleep, was carefully prepared for transport. IV lines secured, monitors packed, her tiny body wrapped in warming blankets. Maya moved on autopilot, her hands steady even as her mind reeled. This couldn't be real. Things like this didn't happen to people like her, but they were happening. A full medical team arrived, not paramedics, but actual doctors and nurses. Equipment that looked like it belonged in an ICU rather than an ambulance. A luxury medical transport van waited at the hospital's private entrance, and overseeing it all, making quiet calls, ensuring every detail was perfect, stood Dante Caruso. He caught Maya's eye as they wheeled Lily out. "The jet is waiting at a private airfield. 30-minute drive. Dr. Morrison has been briefed. She'll meet you at Mass General when you land." "I don't know how to thank you," Maya said, her voice cracking. "Take care of your daughter," Dante replied. "That's thanks enough." As the medical team loaded Lily into the transport, as Maya climbed in beside her daughter, she looked back at Dante, standing in the hospital's lit doorway. He looked different now, harder, more remote. The brief humanity she'd glimpsed in the courtyard locked away behind walls. Who was he really? What had she just accepted from him? But then Lily stirred, her small hand finding Maya's, and nothing else mattered. "Mama?" Lily whispered, her voice weak. "I'm here, baby," Maya said, squeezing gently. "Mama's right here. We're going to make you better." Through the van's window, she watched Dante disappear back into the hospital, watched Chicago's lights fade as they drove toward the airfield, toward Boston, toward hope, toward a future she'd thought was lost forever. And, somewhere in her heart, beneath the relief and gratitude and lingering fear, a question whispered, "What have I done?" The private jet was unlike anything Maya had ever imagined. The interior looked more like a luxury hotel suite than an aircraft. Cream leather seats, polished wood panels, soft lighting that made the medical equipment positioned throughout seem less clinical, more carefully integrated into a space designed for comfort and care. Lily lay in a specialized medical bed that had been secured near the front of the cabin, surrounded by monitoring equipment that beeped softly, reassuringly. Two nurses Maya didn't recognize flanked her daughter, checking vitals, adjusting IV drips with practiced efficiency. A doctor. Sarah Chen, according to her introduction, sat nearby, reviewing Lily's medical charts with intense focus. Maya perched on the edge of a seat near Lily's bed, unable to relax despite the luxury surrounding her. Her mind kept circling back to the courtyard, to Dante Caruso's dark eyes, to the impossible speed with which he'd made this happen. "Miss Chen," Dr. Sarah said, looking up from the charts. "I've reviewed Lily's case thoroughly. Dr. Morrison is optimistic about her response to the protocol. Your daughter is young, strong, despite her condition. Those factors work in her favor." "What are her chances?" Maya asked, the nurse in her needing concrete numbers. "Percentages. Something to hold on to. With the Morrison protocol, 70 to 75% success rate for cases similar to Lily's." "Doctor." Sarah's expression was kind but honest. "It's not a guarantee, but it's significantly better odds than waiting for a transplant. 75%. 3 out of 4 children lived." Maya clung to that number as the jet's engines roared to life, as Chicago fell away beneath them, as they climbed into the pre-dawn darkness. Lily slept through takeoff, sedated to keep her comfortable during the flight. Maya held her daughter's small hand, feeling the fragile pulse beneath papery skin, and allowed herself the first real breath of hope she'd taken in months. They were halfway to Boston when Maya's phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. But something made her accept the call. "Miss Chen," Dante's voice, unmistakable even through the slight distortion of the connection. "You're in the air?" "Yes," Maya said quietly, not wanting to wake Lily. "Thank you. I still don't understand why you're doing this, but thank you." "You'll be met at the airport by my security team," Dante continued, ignoring her gratitude. "They'll escort you to Mass General. Dr. Morrison is expecting you. Everything has been arranged." "Security team?" Maya's unease returned. "Why would we need security?" A pause. When Dante spoke again, his voice was careful. "Because I've made you visible, Miss Chen. People who notice me will notice you. People who want to hurt me might see you and your daughter as leverage." Maya's blood ran cold. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that saving your daughter's life has consequences." "I didn't fully explain in the courtyard." His voice hardened. "And I'm saying that I take responsibility for those consequences. My people will keep you safe. No one will touch you or Lily." "You have my word." "Who are you?" Maya demanded, her voice rising despite her attempt to stay quiet. "Really? What kind of person needs to provide security for someone they help?" "The kind who has enemies," Dante replied bluntly. "The kind whose good deeds come with complications. I should have told you before. I didn't because I knew you'd hesitate, and your daughter doesn't have time for hesitation." He was right. God help her. He was right. Even now, knowing there was danger attached to his help, would she refuse? Would she demand they turn the plane around, send Lily back to Northwestern to die because accepting Dante's help came with strings after all? No. Never. Not while Lily had a chance. "What do you want from me?" Maya asked again, more forcefully this time. "Really? Because nobody does this without wanting something." Another pause, longer this time. "I want to know that one innocent life was saved because I existed," Dante said finally. his voice so quiet she almost didn't hear it over the jet's engines. That's all. Before Maya could respond, he continued in a more businesslike tone. My head of security is Marco Benedetti. He'll introduce himself at the airport. He looks like someone you don't want to meet in a dark alley, but he's loyal and he's good at his job. Trust him. And you? Maya asked. Will I see you again? No. The word was absolute. This is where I step back, Miss Chen. Your daughter gets her treatment. You stay in Boston until she's stable. Then you return to Chicago and live your life. Our paths don't need to cross again. Something in Maya's chest tightened at that pronouncement. This stranger who'd saved Lily's life was going to simply vanish, leaving only questions and the weight of an unpayable debt. I don't even know how to reach you, she said. To tell you how Lily's doing, too, Marco will keep me informed, Dante interrupted. Focus on your daughter, Miss Chen. That's all that matters now. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone, at the unknown number already fading from the screen. She felt simultaneously grateful and furious, saved and trapped, liberated and bound by invisible chains. Miss Chen? Doctor? Sarah was watching her with concern. Is everything all right? I don't know, Maya admitted. I honestly don't know. Boston greeted them with gray dawn and bitter wind. The jet taxied to a private hangar where, true to Dante's word, a team waited. 3 men in dark suits, professional, alert, radiating the kind of coiled readiness that suggested military or law enforcement backgrounds. The tallest one stepped forward as the jet's door opened. He was massive 6'5" at least, broad as a linebacker, with a shaved head and a scar that traced from his left eyebrow to his cheekbone. His face was hard, weathered, the face of someone who'd seen violence and hadn't blinked. Miss Chen, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle for such a large man. I'm Marco Benedetti. Mr. Caruso asked me to ensure your safe arrival. Maya climbed down the steps, leaving the medical team to handle Lily's transport. Up close, Marco was even more intimidating, but his dark eyes held something unexpected compassion. My team will escort you to the hospital, Marco continued. 2 SUVs, one ahead, one behind the ambulance carrying your daughter. Hospital security has been briefed. You'll enter through a private entrance. A suite has been prepared for you on the same floor as the treatment wing. A suite, Maya repeated, overwhelmed. I don't need. Mr. Caruso insists, Marco said firmly. Your daughter's treatment will take weeks, possibly months. You need somewhere to rest, to eat, to maintain your own health so you can care for her. Behind them, the medical team was carefully transferring Lily to a waiting ambulance, not a standard emergency vehicle, but another luxury medical transport. Maya's nurse instincts cataloged the equipment visible through the open doors. This was ICU-level care, mobile and probably astronomically expensive. How much is all of this costing? She asked quietly. Marco's expression didn't change. That's not your concern. It is if I'm going to owe. You owe nothing, Marco interrupted, his tone brooking no argument. Mr. Caruso was very clear. This is a gift, not a loan. No repayment expected. No debt incurred. Everyone wants something, Maya insisted, echoing her words from the courtyard. Marco studied her for a long moment. Mr. Caruso wants your daughter to live. That's the beginning and end of his interest in this situation. Now, may we proceed? The sooner we get Lily to Dr. Morrison, the sooner treatment can begin. Maya had no choice but to nod, to follow Marco to one of the waiting SUVs, to settle into leather seats that probably cost more than her entire car. Through the tinted windows, she watched Boston pass by familiar streets from her nursing school days, before Chicago, before Lily, before life had gotten so complicated. Mass General rose before them, imposing and institutional. But instead of the main entrance, they circled to a private drive Maya had never noticed during her rotations here. The ambulance pulled up to an unmarked door. Hospital staff in scrubs emerged immediately, moving with the choreographed precision of people who'd been thoroughly briefed. This way, miss. Chen, Marco said, appearing at her door. Stay close. They entered through corridors Maya didn't recognize, bypassing public areas entirely. Within minutes, they were in an elevator, rising swiftly. The doors opened onto a floor that looked more like a luxury hotel than a hospital wing. The Morrison, protocol wing, Marco explained. Private treatment center. Only the most critical cases are handled here. A woman in her 50s approached, her silver hair pulled back, her eyes sharp but kind behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Miss Chen? I'm Dr. Patricia Morrison. I've been expecting you." Maya found her voice. "Dr. Morrison, thank you for taking Lily's case on such short notice. I don't typically accept emergency cases," Dr. Morrison admitted, walking alongside Maya as Marco and his team maintained a discreet distance. "But when Dante Caruso calls personally, at 3 a.m, and explains the situation," she paused. "Well, I've known Dante for many years. If he says a child deserves a chance, I listen." "You know him?" Maya's attention sharpened. "How?" Dr. Morrison's expression became guarded. "That's not my story to tell. What matters is that your daughter is here, and we're going to do everything in our power to save her life." They reached a suite of rooms that looked more residential than medical. Lily was already being settled into a bed in what appeared to be a master bedroom, converted for pediatric care monitors and IVs. Yes, but also warm lighting, colorful walls, a window overlooking the Charles River. "Treatment begins immediately," Dr. Morrison explained, pulling up digital charts on a tablet. "The protocol is aggressive, but has shown remarkable results. Lily will need to stay here for at least 6 weeks, possibly longer depending on her response. You're welcome to stay in the adjoining suite." 6 weeks, Maya repeated numbly. "My job has been notified," Marco interjected quietly from where he stood near the door. "Mr. Caruso's people contacted Northwestern. You've been granted emergency family medical leave, fully paid." Maya's head spun. "He can't just... How does he have the authority?" "Generous donations to hospital foundations create authority," Marco replied, his expression neutral. "Miss Chen, Mr. Caruso has removed every obstacle between you and your daughter's recovery. I suggest you accept this gift and focus your energy where it matters." He was right. God, he was right. And Maya hated that she was so completely dependent on a stranger's charity. Hated that she had no choice but to accept, to be grateful, to wonder what hidden cost would eventually reveal itself. But when Lily stirred in the bed, when her eyes fluttered open and found Maya's face, all the pride and fear and anger evaporated. "Mama?" Lily's voice was so small, so fragile. "I'm here, baby." Maya moved to the bedside, taking Lily's hand. "We're going to make you all better. I promise." "Doctor." Morrison began explaining the treatment protocol, the medications, the procedures, the timeline. Maya listened with her nurse's brain, cataloging information, asking questions, understanding the risks and the hopes in equal measure. Marco and his team remained throughout, silent sentinels. When Dr. Morrison finally left to prepare for the first treatment, when the nurses had finished their assessments and given Maya and Lily space, Marco approached the bedside. "My team will maintain a presence on this floor," he said quietly. 2 men outside your suite at all times. 2 more at the elevator. Another at the private entrance you used." "Is that really necessary?" Maya asked. "We're in a hospital, not a war zone." Marco's expression darkened. "Miss Chen, do you know who Dante Caruso is? A rich man who can afford to help people?" Maya replied, though she knew it was more complicated than that. "Dante Caruso controls half of Chicago's underground economy," Marco said bluntly. "Gambling, protection, import-export operations that don't ask too many questions about what's being imported or exported. He inherited the Caruso crime family when his father was murdered 5 years ago. He's made enemies powerful enemies who would love nothing more than to hurt him through the people he protects." The floor tilted beneath Maya's feet. Crime family, murdered, underground economy. The words painted a picture she'd been desperately trying not to see. "You're telling me I accepted help from a gangster," she said flatly. "I'm telling you that you accepted help from a man who has the resources to save your daughter and the enemies who would use her against him," Marco corrected. "Which is why my team is here. To make sure those enemies never get close." Maya looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully for the first time in days, color already returning to her cheeks from the oxygen and fluids. Treatment hadn't even started yet, but just being here, in this place with these resources, was helping. "I should have asked more questions in that courtyard," she said quietly. "Would it have changed your answer?" Marco asked. "If Dante had told you exactly who he was, what accepting his help would mean, would you have refused?" "No." The answer was immediate and absolute. She would have accepted help from the devil himself if it meant Saving Lily. That's what I thought, Marco said, not unkindly. Mr. Caruso knew that. He also knew he was putting you at risk. That's why he's taking precautions. He may be a lot of things, Miss Chen, but he takes responsibility for his actions. I want to talk to him, Maya said suddenly. I need to understand what I've gotten us into. Marco shook his head. Mr. Caruso was clear. He's stepping back. This is the last favor he'll grant my team's protection during your stay here. After that, you go home to Chicago. Resume your life. He stays out of it. Why? Maya demanded, frustrated by the wall of protection Dante had built around himself. Why help us and then disappear? Why go to all this trouble if he doesn't want? She stopped, not sure what she was asking. Because he's trying to be something different than what he was made to be, Marco said quietly. Because every man, no matter how dark his world, wants to believe he can still do good. Your daughter gave him that chance. He moved toward the door. Get some rest, Miss Chen. Tomorrow treatment begins, and you'll need your strength. Marco and his team withdrew, leaving Maya alone with Lily in their luxurious prison. Because that's what it was, she realized. However beautiful, however necessary, she was now under the protection and control of Dante Caruso's world. She pulled a chair beside Lily's bed and settled in for a long night. Through the window, Boston glittered in the darkness, indifferent to the complicated web that had just ensnared her life. Somewhere in Chicago, Dante Caruso was probably back at his mother's bedside, maintaining his own vigil. Maya wondered if he was thinking about them, about Lily, about the consequences of the choice he'd made in that courtyard. She wondered if she'd ever see him again, ever get the chance to ask the questions that circled in her mind like vultures. But most of all, as she held Lily's hand and listened to the steady beep of monitors that promised hope instead of announcing death, she wondered what price would eventually come due for the gift of her daughter's life. 3 weeks later, the Morrison protocol was working. Lily's kidney function was improving steadily, her color returning, her energy slowly rebuilding. She laughed now, real belly laughs that filled the suite with joy. She played with the toys that appeared daily, gifts from anonymous donors that Maya suspected all came from the same source. The suite had become their home. Maya learned its rhythms, the morning rounds, the afternoon therapy sessions, the evening quiet when Lily would curl against her side and ask for stories. The fear that had been a constant companion for 3 years was finally loosening its grip. But the questions remained. Marco's team was a constant presence. She'd learned their names: Tony, Alessandro, Vincent, Marcus, all former military, all intensely loyal to Dante Caruso. They rotated, made shifts, but never left the floor unguarded. They were polite, professional, and absolutely immovable when it came to security protocols. No one entered the floor without clearance. No deliveries were accepted without inspection. Maya couldn't even go to the hospital cafeteria without Tony or Alessandro shadowing her steps. It should have felt oppressive. Instead, it felt strangely safe. Dr. Morrison visited daily, her assessments growing more optimistic with each examination. Lily's responding better than I dared hope, she told Maya on day 21. At this rate, we're looking at discharge in 3 to 4 weeks. She'll need ongoing monitoring, follow-up treatments, but the critical phase will be past. And then what? Maya asked. We go back to Chicago? I recommend staying in Boston for at least 6 months, Dr. Morrison replied. Close proximity for monitoring. I've arranged for a furnished apartment near the hospital. All costs covered through the same foundation that's handling the treatment. The same foundation. Meaning Dante. Always Dante. Invisible but omnipresent in every aspect of their lives now. I need to thank him, Maya said. Properly. I need to. He doesn't want thanks, Dr. Morrison interrupted gently. Dante made that very clear. He wants your daughter healthy. That's payment enough. You keep saying that, but I don't understand. Why would someone with his reputation? Maya stopped, choosing words carefully. Why would someone like him care about one sick child he's never met? Dr. Morrison was silent for a long moment, debating something internally. Finally, she said, Dante had a sister, Sophia. She was 6 years younger, the light of their family. She got sick when Dante was 19, leukemia. Their father refused to take her to proper hospitals, didn't trust mainstream medicine, relied on traditional healers and prayer. Maya's heart sank. She died. She died, Dr. Morrison confirmed. In pain, unnecessarily, because Antonio Caruso's pride was more important than his daughter's life. Dante never forgave him. Never forgave himself for not defying his father, for not doing whatever was necessary to save her. She met Maya's eyes. Sophia would have been about your age now. 28, 29. The same dark hair, the same determined expression. When Dante called me about Lily, I heard something in his voice I hadn't heard in years. Hope. A chance at redemption. Understanding bloomed, painful and clear. Lily reminds him of his sister. Or of the child his sister might have had if she'd lived, Dr. Morrison said. I don't presume to know Dante's mind. But I know he spent 15 years trying to be better than his father, to use the power he inherited for something other than violence and fear. Saving your daughter, maybe that's his way of saving Sophia. Finally, the revelation sat heavy on Maya's chest. Dante Caruso wasn't a stranger performing random acts of kindness. He was a man haunted by loss, trying to rewrite history through Lily's survival. Does that change anything? Dr. Morrison asked gently. Knowing his motivation? Maya thought about it. Did it matter that Dante's generosity was rooted in grief, in guilt, in the desperate need to save a ghost? Did it make the gift less genuine, the help less valuable? No, she said finally. It doesn't change anything. Lily is still alive because of him. Whatever his reasons, he gave us a future we wouldn't have had. Then focus on that future, Dr. Morrison advised. Let Dante have his peace. Let him believe Sophia would have been proud of what he did for Lily. That's the only payment he wants. That night, after Lily had fallen asleep, after the nurses had completed their evening rounds, Maya stood at the window overlooking the Charles River. Boston's lights reflected on the dark water, beautiful and cold. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart jumped before she answered. Miss Chen. Dante's voice. Unexpected after. 3 weeks of silence. Marco tells me Lily is doing well. She is, Maya said, her voice catching. Dr. Morrison says she's responding beyond expectations. We might be able to go home soon. That's good. A pause. That's what I wanted to hear. Mr. Caruso, Dante, I need to thank you. I know you don't want it, but I need to say it anyway. You saved my daughter's life. You gave her a future. There are no words for what that means to a mother. There don't need to be words, Dante replied quietly. Seeing her recover is enough. Doctor, Morrison told me, Maya said impulsively, about Sophia, about why you helped us. The silence that followed stretched so long she thought he'd hung up. Then, barely audible, she shouldn't have. I'm glad she did. It helps me understand. It helps me. Maya stopped, not sure what she wanted to say. You couldn't save your sister, but you saved mine. That matters, Dante. That changes everything. It changes nothing, he said, his voice hardening. Sophia is still dead. Antonio Caruso's legacy is still blood and fear. One good deed doesn't balance the scales. Maybe not. Maya agreed, but it's a start. Another long pause. When Dante spoke again, the hardness had softened slightly. How is she? Really? Marco gives me medical updates, but I want to know how is Lily. Is she happy? The question surprised her. More than clinical interest, more than checking boxes on a charity case. He actually cared. She's happy, Maya said, warmth flooding her voice. She plays now. She laughs. Yesterday she told me she wants to be a princess when she grows up. A princess who helps sick kids. Maya laughed softly. She has no idea that someone already saved her like a fairy tale. Good, Dante said. She should never know. She should grow up normal, uncomplicated by my world. Is that possible? Maya asked. Can we really go back to Chicago and pretend none of this happened? Pretend I don't owe you everything? You don't owe me anything, Dante insisted. That's the point. You resume your life. Lily grows up healthy. Our paths never cross again. That's how this works. And if I don't want that? The words escaped before Maya could stop them. What if I... She faltered, not sure herself what she was asking for. Don't, Dante said, his voice sharp. Don't complicate this, Miss Chen. I helped your daughter. That's where it ends. My world is dark, dangerous, full of violence you can't imagine. Lily deserves better. You deserve better. Accept the gift and walk away clean. I'm a nurse, Maya said quietly. I'm trained to help people, to save lives. You think I can't handle darkness? You think I don't understand violence? I work trauma ER, Dante. I've seen what people do to each other. It's not the same, he replied flatly. You see the aftermath. I create it. There's a difference. Is there? Maya challenged. You saved a life tonight, saved it more completely than any doctor could. You used your power, your resources, your connections to give an innocent child a future. That's not creation of violence. That's the opposite. You don't know what I've done, Dante said, and she heard exhaustion in his voice now, the weight of years pressing down. The choices I've made, the blood on my hands. Saving Lily doesn't erase any of it. Maybe not, Maya conceded. But it matters. To me. To Lily. To Sophia's memory. It matters, Dante. He was silent. In the background, Maya heard the familiar sounds of a hospital, distant beeping, footsteps, the low murmur of voices. He was at his mother's bedside, maintaining his own vigil while checking on theirs. I should go, he said finally. Will you call again? Maya asked. To check on Lily? Marco will keep me informed. That's not what I asked. Another pause. Then, so quiet she almost didn't hear. Maybe. If she needs anything. She'll need someone to thank someday, Maya said. When she's old enough to understand, she'll want to meet the man who saved her life. Then you'll tell her I was a friend who helped when it mattered, Dante replied. Nothing more complicated than that. Is that what we are? Maya pressed. Friends? We're two people whose lives intersected briefly, Dante said carefully. People who shared a moment of crisis and survived it. That's all we can afford to be. The words should have stung. Instead, they felt like protection, his way of keeping her safe from the complications of his world. Thank you, Maya said again. For everything. Take care of Lily, Dante replied. That's all the thanks I need. The line went dead. Maya stood at the window long after the call ended, watching the lights of Boston, thinking about the man in Chicago who'd saved them, who carried ghosts and guilt in equal measure, who'd given them everything while asking for nothing. Who was protecting them even now from the dangers of his world and from the pull of something neither of them could afford to acknowledge? Behind her, Lily slept peacefully, her breathing steady, her color healthy. In 3 weeks, maybe 4, they'd be cleared to go home, to resume their normal lives. But Maya knew, with a certainty that settled deep in her bones, that nothing would ever be normal again. That Dante Caruso had changed their trajectory in ways that went beyond medical miracles. That whatever he claimed, whatever walls he built, their story wasn't over. It was just beginning. 6 weeks later, Chicago. The apartment felt too small after Boston's luxury. Maya stood in her cramped kitchen, watching Lily play with blocks on the living room floor, and tried to convince herself that everything was back to normal. Lily was healthy. The follow-up appointments at Northwestern showed kidney function in normal range. Dr. Reeves called it a miracle. Maya called it Dante Caruso, though never out loud. They'd been back in Chicago for 2 weeks. Marco's team had escorted them home, helped them settle in, then vanished as completely as they'd appeared. No more security detail, no more protection. Just Maya and Lily, alone again in their 5th floor walk-up with its peeling paint and drafty windows. Maya should have felt relieved, free. But instead, she felt exposed. She'd gotten used to Marco's presence, to Tony's quiet competence, to the invisible shield that had surrounded them in Boston. Now, walking to the grocery store felt dangerous. Every stranger on the street made her tense. Every unexpected sound jerked her attention. Mama, look! Lily held up a tower of blocks, her face beaming with pride. I made it tall. That's beautiful, baby, Maya said, pushing aside her unease. This was what mattered. Lily was alive, thriving, being a normal 3-year-old. The fear was just Maya's problem, not Lily's. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Her heart jumped before she could stop it. But it wasn't Dante. It had never been Dante, not since that one call in Boston 6 weeks ago. Miss Chen? A woman's voice. Professional, unfamiliar. This is Jennifer Marks from Caruso Family Foundation. I'm calling about the apartment? I'm sorry? Maya said, confused. What apartment? The one we've arranged for you. Didn't Marco explain? Mr. Caruso felt your current residence wasn't suitable for Lily's recovery. We've secured a 2-bedroom in Lincoln Park. Ground floor, fully accessible, close to Northwestern for her follow-up appointments. All expenses covered for 1 year. Maya's chest tightened. No. No, I didn't agree to this. We're fine where we are. Miss Chen, I understand your hesitation, but Mr. Caruso was very clear. Mr. Caruso doesn't get to make decisions about my life, Maya interrupted, anger flaring hot and sudden. He helped Lily. I'm grateful. But we're home now. We're fine. Tell him thank you, but no. She hung up before Jennifer could respond, her hands shaking. This was why Dante had kept his distance. This was why he'd insisted their paths never cross again. Because once you accepted help from someone like him, where did it end? When did charity become control? The phone rang again. Same number. Maya declined the call. It rang a third time. Different number. What? Maya snapped, answering. That was rude. Dante's voice, dry, almost amused. Jennifer was only trying to help. I don't want help, Maya said, keeping her voice low so Lily wouldn't hear. I want my life back, my choices, my independence. Your apartment has black mold in the bathroom, Dante replied calmly. The heating system is failing. The building has failed 3 safety inspections in the past year. That's not suitable for a child recovering from kidney failure. How do you… Maya stopped. Of course he knew. He knew everything. You've been watching us. I've been ensuring you're safe, Dante corrected. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. Maya moved to the window, watching the street below for signs of surveillance she'd been too naive to notice. You said we could go back to normal. You said our paths wouldn't cross again. You lied. I said I'd step back, Dante replied, steel entering his voice. I didn't say I'd abandon you to unsafe conditions. Lily deserves better than what you can provide on a nurse's salary. The words hit like a physical blow. Excuse me? I'm not insulting you, Dante said quickly. I'm stating facts. You're a single mother working double shifts to make rent on an apartment that isn't safe. Lily needs stability, security, proper living conditions. I can provide that. Why is your pride more important than her well-being? Because my pride is all I have left, Maya said, her voice breaking. You've already given us so much. You've saved her life. You've paid for treatment that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. When does it end, Dante? When do I stop being your charity case and start being a person again? Silence on the other end. Then, quietly, you were never a charity case. Then what am I? Maya demanded. What are we to you? A project? A way to ease your guilt about Sophia? A box to check so you can feel like a good person despite… She stopped herself, but the damage was done. Despite what? Dante's voice was dangerous now. Say it. Despite being a criminal? A murderer? A man who makes his living from other people's misery? I didn't mean, you did. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. And you're right, that's exactly what I am. Which is why you should take the apartment, miss. Chen, let me ease my guilt. Let me check my box. Let me pretend I'm something other than what I was made to be. And then we can both move on with our lives. Dante, the apartment is yours if you want it. Keys will be delivered tomorrow. If you refuse, fine. But don't pretend it's about independence. It's about being too proud to accept help from someone like me. He paused. Someone your daughter needed, but you wish she hadn't. The line went dead. Maya stood at the window, phone clutched in. Her hand, tears streaming down her face. He was wrong. He was right. He was infuriating and generous and impossible and… Mama? Lily appeared at her side, worry creasing her small face. Why crying? Maya swept her daughter up, holding her tight. Mama's just tired, baby. It's okay. But it wasn't okay. Nothing was okay. Because Dante was right about the apartment, right about Lily deserving better, right about Maya's pride getting in the way of her daughter's needs. And he was wrong about why she was refusing his help. It wasn't about pride. It wasn't about not wanting to accept charity from a criminal. It was about the fact that every time she heard his voice, every time she thought about him, something in her chest pulled tight with feelings she had no right to have. Gratitude had transformed into something more complicated during those weeks in Boston. Those late-night calls when he'd checked on Lily, when his voice had softened talking about Sophia, when he'd revealed glimpses of the man beneath the armor. She couldn't afford to feel this way about Dante Caruso. Couldn't afford to want more than he was willing to give. Couldn't afford to pull Lily deeper into his dangerous world. But refusing the apartment meant staying in a place that might make Lily sick again. meant prioritizing Maya's emotional comfort over her daughter's physical safety. The choice wasn't really a choice at all. The apartment in Lincoln Park was beautiful. Hardwood floors, tall windows that let in natural light, a kitchen with appliances that actually worked. Lily's bedroom was painted soft yellow, already furnished with a bed, dresser, shelves filled with books and toys. The bathroom had a tub instead of just a shower, perfect for a 3-year-old who loved bath time. Maya stood in the empty living room the next afternoon, keys in hand, and felt the walls closing in despite the spaciousness. "Mama, this is my room?" Lily bounced on the bed, pure joy on her face. "It's so pretty." "Yes, baby," Maya said, forcing a smile. "It's yours." A knock at the door made her tense. She opened it to find Marco standing in the hallway, carrying boxes. "Your belongings from the old apartment?" he explained, setting them inside. "We moved everything this morning." "Of course you did," Maya said wearily. "Anything else Dante arranged without asking?" Marco's expression remained neutral. "Mr. Caruso wants you to be comfortable. He means no disrespect. Just control," Maya muttered. "Protection," Marco corrected firmly. "This building has proper security. Fire systems that work. No mold, no pests, no failing infrastructure. This is about keeping Lily safe, Miss Chen. Nothing more." Maya sank onto the couch, new, soft, probably expensive. "How long does he plan to watch us?" Marco hesitated. "As long as necessary. That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." Marco moved toward the door, then paused. "For what it's worth, I've known Dante Caruso for 8 years. I've seen him make hard decisions, brutal decisions. I've seen him do things that keep me awake at night. But I've never seen him care about someone the way he cares about your daughter's well-being." He met her eyes. "He won't interfere with your life, Miss Chen. But he won't stop ensuring you're safe, either. You'll have to decide if you can live with that." After Marco left, Maya unpacked boxes mechanically, her mind churning. This apartment, the furniture, the continued surveillance, it was all Dante's way of maintaining connection while keeping distance, of protecting them without admitting why it mattered so much. She understood, in a way. He was bound by the same impossible situation she was, drawn to them but believing he had no right, wanting more but convinced he shouldn't. Two people whose lives had intersected in crisis, he'd said. That's all they could afford to be. But Maya was beginning to suspect neither of them believed that anymore. 3 months later, life found a new rhythm. Lily started preschool, a private program Dante had somehow gotten her into despite the waiting list. Maya returned to work at Northwestern, but found herself transferred to pediatrics on the same floor where Lily had been treated. Better hours, better pay, day shifts only. She didn't need Marco to tell her who'd arranged it. They settled into the Lincoln Park apartment. Maya stopped fighting the gifts that appeared groceries delivered weekly. Educational toys for Lily, tickets to children's museums and shows. She told herself she was accepting for Lily's sake, for the experiences her daughter deserved. But late at night, when Lily was asleep and the apartment was quiet, Maya would remember Dante's voice on the phone, the way he'd asked, "How is she? Really?" with such raw need to know. The exhaustion in his tone when he'd admitted, "Saving Lily doesn't erase any of it." She wondered about him, wondered if his mother had woken from her coma, wondered if he still visited the hospital at 3 a.m., keeping vigil, wondered if he thought about them as often as she thought about him. She told herself it didn't matter, that her gratitude had morphed into something dangerous, and she needed to lock it down. That Dante Caruso was everything she should avoid: dangerous, violent, living in a world where people died for crossing the wrong person. But he'd also saved Lily's life. Had been gentle in that courtyard when Maya was breaking, had trusted her with his sister's story, had protected them for months without asking anything in return. The contradiction lived in her chest, a constant ache she couldn't resolve. On a cold February evening, 4 months after Lily's treatment, Maya was reading bedtime stories when someone knocked at the door. Not Marco's knock, not a delivery, something urgent. She peered through the peephole and her breath caught. Dante Caruso stood in her hallway, looking nothing like the man from the courtyard. His expensive coat was gone, replaced by a dark jacket. His face was drawn, shadowed with stubble, his eyes hollow with exhaustion that went beyond physical. Maya opened the door slowly. "Dante, I shouldn't be here," he said, not moving from the hallway. "I know I shouldn't. But He stopped, seeming to struggle for words. "My mother died 2 hours ago. The doctor said she went peacefully, that she wasn't in pain, but he looked lost. This powerful man who controlled half of Chicago looked utterly, devastatingly lost. Maya didn't think. She stepped forward and wrapped her arms around him. Dante stood rigid for a moment. Then his arms came around her, holding tight. Not possessive, not controlling. Just holding on like she was the only solid thing in a world that had tilted sideways. They stood like that in the doorway, two people bound by impossible circumstances, drawing comfort from each other's warmth. "I'm so sorry," Maya whispered against his chest. "I'm so sorry, Dante." "She never woke up," he said, his voice rough. "She never knew I tried to change. Never knew about Lily, about trying to be better. She died thinking I was still my father's son." "You're not," Maya said fiercely, pulling back to look at his face. "You're not your father. You saved my daughter. You've protected us for months. You're trying so hard to be different she would have known, Dante." Somewhere, she knew. His dark eyes searched hers, desperate for absolution she wasn't qualified to give. "You don't know what I've done." "I know enough," Maya replied. "I know you're a man trying to do better. That's more than most people manage." A sound from inside the apartment made them both turn. Lily stood in the hallway, rubbing sleepy eyes, her stuffed lion clutched in one arm. "Mama?" she said uncertainly. Then her eyes found Dante. "Who's that?" Maya felt Dante tense, start to pull away. But she kept hold of his hand, making a decision that would change everything. "Lily, baby, this is Dante. He's a friend, a very good friend." Lily studied Dante with the unself-conscious directness of 3-year-olds. "Hi," she said finally. "I'm Lily. I'm 3. I was sick, but now I'm better." Dante crouched down to her level, his expression transforming. "Hello, Lily. I'm glad you're better." "Mama cries sometimes and says thank you to someone," Lily continued with characteristic toddler bluntness. "Is that you?" Dante glanced at Maya, something vulnerable in his eyes. "Maybe. Sometimes people help each other when they need it." "Did you help me?" Lily asked. "Yes," Dante said simply. "I did." "Thank you," Lily said solemnly, then yawned. "I'm sleepy. Let's get you back to bed, baby," Maya said, scooping her up. To Dante, she added, "Don't leave. Please, just wait." She settled Lily back in bed, singing softly until her daughter's eyes closed. When she returned to the living room, she half expected to find it empty, to find that Dante had fled. But he stood at the window, looking out at Lincoln Park, his shoulders carrying the weight of grief, of choices, of a world that offered no easy answers. "Thank you," he said without turning, "for letting me meet her. I know it was a risk." "She deserved to meet the man who saved her life," Maya replied, moving to stand beside him. "And you deserve to see that your choice mattered, that she's healthy and happy and whole because of you." "She looks like Sophia," Dante said quietly. "Same dark hair, same direct way of looking at people." For a moment, I could almost believe. He stopped, shaking his head. "I should go. This was a mistake. Staying or coming here in the first place?" Maya asked. "Both. Neither. I don't know anymore." He turned to face her, and Maya saw the careful walls had crumbled, revealing the man underneath. Grieving, exhausted, desperate for connection he thought he didn't deserve. "I can't stop thinking about you, about her, about the life you're building. I tell myself to stay away, that my world has no place in yours, but then something happens and you're the only person I want to talk to." Maya's heart hammered in her chest. "Dante, you should tell me to leave," he continued, his voice rough. "You should slam the door and never let me near you or Lily again, because I'm everything you should avoid. Everything dangerous and wrong and—" "Stop," Maya interrupted, reaching for his hand. "Stop telling me what I should feel, what I should do. I'm a grown woman, Dante. I can make my own choices about who I let into my life." His fingers curled around hers, desperate, careful. "What are you choosing?" Maya didn't have a good answer. Didn't have a rational explanation for why this felt right when it should feel terrifying. For why this dangerous man felt safer than any of the safe options she'd ever chosen. "I'm choosing to stop pretending we can ignore this," she said finally. "Whatever this is between us, I'm choosing to acknowledge that you've been part of our lives for 4 months and I don't want that to end." She squeezed his hand. "I'm choosing to trust that the man who saved my daughter isn't going to hurt us. I would never, I know, Maya said. I know, Dante. That's why I'm not slamming the door. He stared at her, something like wonder in his exhausted eyes. Then, slowly, carefully, as if she might disappear if he moved too fast, he leaned down and pressed his forehead to hers. They stood like that, breathing the same air, connected by touch and grief and hope, and something neither could name, but both desperately needed. I don't know how to do this, Dante whispered. How to be in your life without ruining it. Then we figure it out together, Maya replied, one day at a time. No promises about the future. Just this, right now. This is dangerous, he warned. My enemies are your problem, not mine, Maya said firmly. You've been protecting us for months. I trust. As you to keep doing that. You shouldn't, but I do. She pulled back enough to meet his eyes. I trust you, Dante Caruso, with my daughter's life. With my own. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm making a terrible mistake, but I'm choosing this anyway. The kiss, when it came, was inevitable. Soft at first, tentative, both of them testing this new territory. Then deeper, desperate, weeks of denial and wanting pouring into the connection. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers again. This changes everything, he said. I know, Maya replied. My world will touch yours now. Really touch it. There will be consequences. Then we'll face them. She cupped his face, feeling the stubble rough against her palms. Together. For the first time since she'd opened the door, Dante smiled. Small, almost disbelieving, but real. Together, he repeated, as if testing the word. I like the sound of that. They moved to the couch, and Maya found herself, tucked against Dante's side, his arm around her shoulders, both of them exhausted but unwilling to let go of this fragile new thing between them. Tell me about your mother, Maya said softly. The real her, not the patient in the hospital. And Dante did. He talked about Maria Caruso, about her strength, her kindness, her desperate attempts to shield her children from their father's violence. He talked about Sofia, about how Maria had loved her daughter fiercely, had fought Antonio to get her proper treatment until it was too late. She would have liked you, Dante said finally. You have the same fire she did, the same refusal to accept defeat. I wish I could have met her, Maya replied honestly. She would have loved Lily, Dante continued. Would have spoiled her shamelessly. Sofia would have too. They both would have celebrated every milestone, every achievement. Would have been the family you and Lily deserved. You could be that family, Maya said carefully. If you wanted. Dante tensed. Maya. I'm not asking for promises, she interrupted. I'm not asking you to be Lily's father or my husband or anything you're not ready for. I'm just saying if you want to be part of our lives, really part of them, I'm not going to stop you. Neither will Lily. He was silent for a long time, his hand absently stroking her arm. Maya could feel the war happening inside him, want versus duty, hope versus fear, the desperate desire for something good against the certainty that he didn't deserve it. I've done terrible things, he said finally. I've hurt people, killed people, run operations that destroyed families, ruined lives. The money that paid for Lily's treatment came from those operations, from violence and fear, and you used it to save a life, Maya interrupted firmly. You took something dark and made something bright from it. That matters, Dante. Does it? Or am I just putting a pretty bow on blood money? Maya sat up, turning to face him, fully. Listen to me. I don't know everything about your world. I don't want to know everything, but I know you've been trying to change. I know you kept your mother company for 2 months, even though she couldn't respond. I know you saved my daughter without asking anything in return. I know you protected us for months without making demands. That's not a monster, Dante. That's a man trying to be better than what he was made to be. His eyes were wet, though no tears fell. You see me as something I'm not. I see you as you are, Maya corrected. Complicated, dangerous, but also kind, protective, capable of change. She took his hands. And I'm choosing that man. All of him. Light and shadow both. You're going to regret this, Dante said. But he was holding her hands like a lifeline. Maybe, Maya agreed. But I'd regret not trying more. They talked through the night, about his mother's funeral arrangements, about Lily's upcoming birthday, about the impossible situation they were creating. They fell asleep on the couch as dawn broke over Lincoln Park, exhausted, uncertain, but together. When Maya woke a few hours later, Dante was gone. For a moment, panic seized her. He'd fled, changed his mind, decided she was right about regret. Then she saw the note on the coffee table. Had to handle arrangements for my mother. Didn't want to wake you. Marco will be outside if you need anything. I'll call tonight. D. Beneath the note was a simple silver bracelet, delicate but strong, with a small charm, a lily flower. Maya fastened it around her wrist, feeling the weight of it, the promise it represented. This was real. This was happening. And whatever came next, they would face it together. Lily appeared in the hallway, rubbing sleep from her eyes. Mama? Is your friend coming back? Maya thought about Dante's note, about the bracelet on her wrist, about the choice they'd both made in the darkness. Yes, baby, she said, opening her arms for a morning hug. I think he is. And for the first time in years, Maya allowed herself to hope for something beyond survival, to hope for something like happiness, even if it came wrapped in complications and danger and 1,000 reasons why it shouldn't work. Dante Caruso had saved her daughter's life. Now, maybe, she could save something in him that he thought was lost forever. The possibility terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. But she was done running from it. 2 days later, Maria Caruso's funeral was everything Dante had promised it wouldn't be a spectacle. St. Michael's Cathedral overflowed with mourners. Politicians, business owners, people from every corner of Chicago who owed the Caruso family favors or feared them enough to pay respects. The legitimate faces of the city rubbing shoulders with its shadows. Maya stood at the back with Lily, both dressed in simple black. She hadn't been sure about coming, but Dante had called the night before, his voice raw. I need you there, he'd said. I know it's asking too much. I know you'll see things, people you shouldn't be associated with. But he'd stopped, composing himself. I need to know someone is there who understands. Who sees me, not just what I represent. So here she was, holding Lily's hand, watching Dante stand beside the casket looking like he carried the weight of generations. His suit was impeccable, his expression carved from stone. But Maya saw the grief beneath, the exhaustion, the loneliness of a man surrounded by hundreds but truly known by none. The service was in Italian and English, beautiful and heartbreaking. When Dante spoke, his eulogy careful and controlled, Maya heard what he wasn't saying: apologies for choices he'd made, for the life his mother had endured, for not being able to save Sophia, for everything he thought he'd failed at. My mother taught me that family was everything, Dante said, his voice echoing through the cathedral. That we protect what matters, no matter the cost. She lived that truth every day of her life. She loved fiercely, forgave endlessly, and believed in redemption even when the world offered no evidence it existed. His eyes found Maya's in the crowd, holding for a brief moment. She taught me that it's never too late to choose differently, to be better than what you were made to be. The words settled over the crowd like a benediction. Maya felt tears slide down her cheeks, understanding the message within the message. This was Dante's declaration to his mother's memory, to the world watching, to himself. He was choosing differently. After the service, after the burial in the family plot where Sophia and Antonio Caruso already rested, people gathered at a reception at one of Dante's restaurants. Maya had planned to slip away, but Marco appeared at her elbow. Mr. Caruso asked if you'd stay, he said quietly. Just for a while. There are people he wants you to meet. Marco, I don't think. Please, Miss Chen. Something in Marco's expression stopped her protest. He needs this. Needs you. More than he'll admit. So Maya stayed, keeping Lily close, navigating a world she didn't understand. She met Dante's consigliere, Salvatore Romano, an elderly man with sharp eyes who studied her with undisguised interest. She met business associates who spoke in careful code. She met legitimate restaurateurs and property developers who seemed genuinely sad about Maria's passing. And she met Dante's cousin, Isabella Caruso, a woman in her 30s with the same dark hair and intense eyes as Dante. So you're the nurse, Isabella said, not unkindly, as they found themselves alone near the bar. The one Dante can't stop thinking about. Maya's cheeks heated. I don't know about that. I do. Isabella sipped her wine, studying Maya. I've known Dante my whole life. Watched him become what our family needed after Uncle Antonio died. Watched him carry weight that would break most men. and I've never, not once, seen him look at someone the way he looks at you. It's complicated, Maya said carefully. Everything with Dante is complicated. Isabella's expression softened. But he's trying, really trying to be different. The business is changing. Less violence, more legitimate operations. He's been working with Salvatore to transition things, to build something that doesn't require blood to maintain. She paused. He's doing that for you, for your daughter, because he wants to be someone you can be proud of. The words hit Maya square in the chest. She hadn't asked Dante to change, hadn't demanded he walk away from his world. But he was doing it anyway, restructuring his entire life to be worthy of the chance she'd given him. I need to tell him he doesn't have to. Yes, he does, Isabella interrupted gently. Not for you, for himself. He's been looking for a reason to change for years. Since Sophia died, you and Lily gave him that reason. Don't take it away by telling him it doesn't matter. Across the room, Dante was speaking with a group of older men, his expression professional, his body language controlled. But his eyes kept finding Maya, checking that she was okay, that she hadn't fled this overwhelming display of his world. When he finally broke away, making his way through the crowd toward her, Maya saw the exhaustion etched in every line of his face. "Thank you for staying," he said quietly, his hand finding the small of her back. A possessive gesture, a claiming one, and Maya felt dozens of eyes track the movement. "I know this is a lot. Your cousin is nice," Maya offered. "She speaks very highly of you. Isabella has always seen the best in people," Dante replied. "Even when there's very little to see." He glanced down at Lily, who was yawning against Maya's leg. "She's tired. You should take her home. What about you?" "When will you late?" Dante said. "There are obligations, people I need to speak with, family business." The words were loaded with meaning. This was the part of his life he was trying to shield her from, the darkness he didn't want touching them. "Dante," Maya said softly, touching his arm. "You don't have to do this alone. Whatever family business means, you don't have to—" "Yes, I do," he interrupted, but his hand covered hers, squeezing gently. "But knowing you're here, that I can call you later, that I have something good waiting that makes it bearable." The vulnerability in his admission took her breath away. This powerful man, surrounded by people who feared and respected him, admitting that she was his anchor, his reason to endure. "Call me when you're done," Maya said. "No matter how late, I'll answer." His smile, small and grateful, transformed his face. "I will." Marco appeared to drive them home. In the car, Lily fell asleep almost immediately, her head pillowed on Maya's lap. Through the tinted windows, Chicago passed by the city Dante controlled in ways Maya was only beginning to understand. "He loves you," Marco said suddenly, his eyes on the road. In case that wasn't clear. Maya's heart stuttered. "He hasn't said he doesn't know how," Marco interrupted. "Men like Dante, we're not good with words, but I've been with him for 8 years. I've seen him in every situation you can imagine, and I've never seen him as careful, as protective, as vulnerable as he is with you. That's love, Miss Chen. Even if he can't say it yet, I care about him," Maya admitted quietly. "More than I should. More than is probably wise." "Wisdom is overrated," Marco replied, the corner of his mouth lifting. "Sometimes the heart knows things the head can't justify." Back at the apartment, Maya settled Lily into bed and found herself unable to sleep. She paced the living room, touching the bracelet Dante had given her, thinking about everything she'd seen today. The world Dante inhabited was vast, complex, dangerous. She'd glimpsed only the surface, the legitimate face he showed at his mother's funeral. But beneath that were operations, decisions, the kind of business that happened in shadows and ended with people getting hurt. Could she really build a life with someone like that? Could she expose Lily to that world, even indirectly? Her phone rang at 2 a.m. "Dante." "Hey," she said softly. "How are you holding up?" "I'm outside your building," he replied. "Can I come up?" 5 minutes later, he stood in her doorway looking wrecked. The tie was gone, the jacket, the careful composure. Just Dante in a wrinkled dress shirt, eyes hollow with exhaustion and something that looked like desperation. "I can't do this," he said without preamble. "I can't be what you need. What Lily deserves. I tried today, tried to imagine a version of my life where you fit, where this works. And I can't see it, Maya. Every scenario ends with my world hurting you." Maya's heart cracked, but she stepped aside. "Come in," We're not having this conversation in the hallway. Dante entered, reluctantly, standing in the middle of her living room like he didn't belong there, like he'd already decided to leave and was just waiting for her to agree. Tell me what happened, Maya said, settling on the couch. Something changed between the funeral and now. Dante ran his hands through his hair, disheveling it further. Carlo Benedetti, Marco's father, pulled me aside after you left. Asked about you, about whether I was serious about the nurse with the sick kid. His jaw clenched. Asked if I understood the message it sent, me bringing you to my mother's funeral, making you visible to people who look for weaknesses. And what message does it send? Maya asked, though dread pooled in her stomach. That I care about you, Dante said bluntly. That you matter to me. That hurting you would hurt me. He met her eyes. I've made enemies, Maya. People who would love nothing more than to find something I care about and destroy it. By being with me, by letting people see us together, I've painted a target on your back, on Lily's. Maya absorbed this, the reality she'd been trying to ignore crystallizing into hard truth. So what are you saying? That we end this before it really starts? I'm saying I was selfish, Dante replied, his voice rough. I was grieving and lonely, and I took comfort from you when I should have stayed away. I let myself want something I have no right to want. And now you're in danger because of me. Dante. Carlo wasn't being cruel, Dante continued, talking over her. He was being honest. He reminded me what happened to Gina Moretti when she got involved with their son. What happened to Father Benedetti's wife before she died. The Castellano family in New York lost 3 family members because someone figured out who they loved. This world doesn't let people like me have normal relationships. It takes what we love and uses it as a weapon. Maya stood, crossing to where Dante stood, rigid with self-recrimination. Look at me. He did, reluctantly, and she saw the war in his eyes, wanting her, wanting to protect her, convinced the only way to do both was to push her away. I understand the risk, Maya said carefully. I'm not naive. I know your world is dangerous. I know being with you means living with that danger. Then why aren't you running? Dante demanded, frustration bleeding into his voice. Why aren't you telling me to get out, to never contact you again, to leave you and Lily alone? Because I'm tired of being afraid, Maya replied honestly. I've spent 3 years being terrified of losing Lily, terrified of not being enough, terrified of the future. You gave us a chance at life, Dante. Real life, not just survival. And yes, being with you is scary. Your world is scary. But being without you, going back to being alone, that's scarier. Dante shook his head. You don't know what you're saying. Don't tell me what I know, Maya said firmly. I'm a grown woman. I've seen violence, Dante. I've seen what people do to each other. I work trauma ER. I've held people while they died from stupid gang fights and domestic disputes and all the ways humans hurt each other. Your world doesn't have a monopoly on danger. It's not the same. You're right, it's not, Maya agreed, because you're actively trying to protect us. You've had Marco and his team watching over us for months. You've arranged our lives to minimize risk. You're restructuring your businesses to be more legitimate. You're choosing to change, Dante. That's the difference. He stared at her, something like wonder and terror mixing in his expression. You really mean this? You're actually saying you want this, knowing everything. Not everything, Maya corrected. I don't want to know the details of your business. I don't want to know about the violence, the illegal operations, any of it. I want to know you, the man who saved my daughter, who visits his mother's grave, who calls at 2 a.m., because he needs to hear my voice. That's who I'm choosing. And if my enemies come for you anyway? Dante asked, his voice dropping to something raw and desperate. If despite all my precautions, despite everything I do to keep you safe, they find a way to hurt you? To hurt Lily? Maya took his hands, feeling them tremble slightly. Then we'll deal with it. Together. The way we've dealt with everything else. She squeezed. I'm not asking you to be perfect, Dante. I'm not asking you to guarantee nothing bad will ever happen. I'm asking you to stop pushing me away because you're afraid. I am afraid, he admitted, the words clearly costing him. I'm terrified of losing you, of failing to protect you the way I failed Sophia, the way I failed my mother, of watching my world destroy the only good thing I've found in years. Then fight for us, Maya said simply. Not against us. Stop trying to save me from yourself and just be with me. Let me help carry some of that weight. Let me be your reason to keep changing, to keep building something better." Dante pulled her close, his arms wrapping around her with desperate intensity. "I don't deserve you," he murmured against her hair. "I don't deserve any of this." "Good thing I'm not asking what you deserve," Maya replied, her face pressed against his chest, feeling his heart hammering. "I'm telling you what I want. And I want you, Dante Caruso. Complicated, dangerous, trying so hard to be better you." They stood like that for long moments, holding each other in the quiet apartment. Two people who had found each other in crisis and decided to build something from the wreckage. "If we do this," Dante said finally, pulling back to look at her face. "Really do this. There are rules, non-negotiables." "Okay," Maya agreed. "Tell me." "Marco's team stays. Security on this building, on Lily's preschool. Discreet but constant. You don't fight me on that." "Agreed. Certain people, certain places are off limits. If I tell you someone is dangerous, that you need to avoid them, you trust me. I can do that. And if something happens, if there's a threat, if my enemies make a move, you do exactly what Marco tells you. No arguments, no hesitation. Your safety and Lily's comes before everything, including your independence." Maya hesitated on that one, her stubborn streak bristling. But she saw the steel in Dante's eyes, the absolute immovability of this boundary. "Okay," she said finally, "but in exchange, you talk to me. You don't make decisions about our lives without consulting us. You don't disappear when things get hard. You let me in, really in, not just the parts you think I can handle." Dante considered this, the compromise clearly uncomfortable. But he nodded. "Deal. And one more thing," Maya added. "You stop punishing yourself for the past. What happened to Sophia, to your mother, the choices you've made, you don't get to carry that alone anymore. You talk to me about it. You let me help you process it. You stop believing you don't deserve happiness." His eyes grew wet, though no tears fell. "That's a tall order. Good thing we have time," Maya replied, reaching up to cup his face. "A lifetime, if you want it." "I want it," Dante said, his voice breaking. "God help me, I want it so much." The kiss was different this time, not desperate, not tentative, but claiming. A promise and a beginning, a choice they were both making with open eyes and full hearts. When they finally separated, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said quietly. "I don't know when it happened. Maybe that first night in the courtyard when you looked at me like I was a person, not a monster. Maybe in Boston when you defended me to Dr. Morrison. Maybe today when you stood in that church full of criminals and looked at me like I was worth something. But I love you, Maya Chen. You and Lily both. And I'm going to spend every day proving I'm worthy of that gift." Maya's throat closed, with emotion. "You already are worthy. You just have to believe it." "Then help me believe it," Dante replied. "Teach me how to be what you need, how to be part of a family, how to love without fear. We'll figure it out together," Maya promised. One day at a time, they moved to the couch, and Maya found herself curled against Dante's side, his arm around her, both of them exhausted but unwilling to let go. "Tell me about the future," Dante said softly. "The one you want. No limitations, no fear. What does it look like?" Maya thought about it, letting herself dream for the first time in years. Lily grows up healthy and happy. She goes to good schools, has friends, does normal kid things. She knows she's loved and safe. She never has to worry about money or whether she'll have a home. "Done," Dante said. "What else?" "I keep working, but maybe part-time. Maybe I go back to school, finish my nursing degree, specialize in pediatrics." She paused. "I want to help other families like mine. Families who can't afford treatment, who fall through the cracks. Maybe we start a foundation or something. Use your resources to save more kids like Lily." Dante was quiet for a moment. Then, "I like that. The Caruso Foundation for Pediatric Care. We could fund experimental treatments, cover costs insurance won't, help families who are where you were 4 months ago." Maya sat up, looking at him. "Are you serious?" "Completely." His expression was thoughtful. "I've been looking for ways to legitimize the family businesses, to build something positive from what my father created. This could be it. A way to honor Sophia's memory, to give meaning to everything that's happened. Dante, that would help so many people." "Then we'll do it," he decided. Salvatore can handle the legal setup. We'll fund it through the legitimate businesses, keep it completely separate from anything questionable. His eyes met hers. See? This is what you do. You make me want to be better. To build instead of destroy. Maya kissed him again, pouring gratitude and hope and love into the connection. What about your future? She asked when they separated. What do you want? Dante's expression grew serious. I want to transition completely out of the illegal operations. It'll take time, a year, maybe 2. But I want to be someone Lily can be proud of. Someone who doesn't have to hide what he does for a living. He traced patterns on Maya's arm. I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to take Lily to the park on Sundays. I want family dinners and school plays and all the normal things I never thought I could have. You can have them, Maya said. We can have them. I want to marry you, Dante continued, the words tumbling out now. Not right away, you need time. We need time. But someday, when I've proven I can be the man you deserve, when I've built a life that's worthy of you and Lily. Maya's heart swelled. You don't have to prove anything. You already be that. Are that man. Then marry me anyway, Dante said, something between hope and fear in his expression. Someday, when you're ready, let me be Lily's father, officially. Let me give you both my name, my protection, everything I have. Yes, Maya said, not hesitating. Not today, not tomorrow, but yes, someday. When we're both ready, when Lily's ready, yes. The smile that broke across Dante's face was transformative, pure joy, unguarded and beautiful. He kissed her again, and they laughed between kisses, giddy with possibility, with hope, with the future spreading before them like an open road. Mama? They broke apart to find Lily standing in the hallway, rubbing her eyes. Why are you still awake, baby? Maya asked, though she knew. Lily had probably heard their voices, sensed something important happening. Couldn't sleep, Lily said, padding over to the couch. She looked at Dante, then at Maya, her expression serious. Is Dante staying now? Like, staying? Maya glanced at Dante, who looked utterly terrified. She took his hand, squeezing reassurance. Would that be okay with you? Maya asked Lily. If Dante was around more? If he was part of our family? Lily considered this with 3-year-old solemnity. Then she nodded. He saved me, right? When I was sick? He did, Maya confirmed. Then he's good, Lily decided simply. Good people can stay. Dante looked like he might break. He reached out, carefully, and Lily climbed onto the couch between them. She curled against Dante's side with the casual trust of children, and he wrapped his arm around her with exquisite gentleness. Thank you, he said quietly to Lily, for letting me stay. You're welcome, Lily replied, yawning. Can you tell me a story? Mama's stories are good, but she always falls asleep first. Maya laughed. That's because you ask for stories at midnight, baby. I'll tell you a story, Dante offered, his voice soft. What kind of story do you want? A princess story, Lily said immediately. But a brave princess, one who saves people. Dante met Maya's eyes over Lily's head, something warm and wondering in his expression. A brave princess who saves people. I think I can do that. And he did. He told Lily a story about a princess who became a doctor, who traveled the kingdom, healing the sick and helping families in need. A princess who was kind and brave and never gave up, even when things seemed impossible. By the time the story ended, Lily was asleep against Dante's chest, her small hand curled around his shirt. Maya watched them, her heart so full it ached, this dangerous man holding her daughter with infinite care, looking at Maya like she'd given him something precious he'd never thought he could have. This is what I want, Dante whispered. This exactly. Forever. Then take it, Maya replied. We're yours, Dante. For as long as you want us. Always, he said immediately. I want you always. They carried Lily back to bed together, tucking her in with coordinated care that felt natural, practiced, like they'd been doing this for years instead of hours. In the hallway, Dante pulled Maya close, his arms wrapping around her waist, his face buried in her hair. I'm terrified I'll fail you, he admitted quietly. That my past will catch up with us, that I won't be enough. You're already enough, Maya assured him. You're here, you're trying, you're choosing us. That's more than enough. Stay with me tonight, Dante requested, not demanded. I don't want to be alone. Not tonight. They fell asleep in Maya's bed, fully clothed, wrapped around each other like anchors. Dante's hand rested on her hip, Maya's head on his chest, listening to the steady beat of his heart. Two people who'd found each other in the darkest hour, who'd chosen each other despite every reason not to, who were building something fragile and precious from impossible circumstances. 18 months later, the vineyard stretched across rolling California hills, bathed in golden afternoon light. Maya stood on the terrace of their new home, a sprawling estate in Napa Valley that Dante had purchased 6 months ago, watching Lily chase butterflies through the grapevines. Behind her, she heard Dante's voice, patient and warm, as he spoke on the phone with Salvatore about the Foundation's latest project funding treatment for 12 children with rare diseases, working with hospitals across the country to identify families who needed help. The Caruso empire had transformed. Gradually, methodically, Dante had divested from every illegal operation, had restructured legitimate businesses to thrive without shadow funding. He'd made deals, paid off debts, ensured the transition created no power vacuum that could lead to violence. It hadn't been easy. There'd been threats, attempts to pull him back in, dangerous moments when Maya had seen the full extent of what Dante was walking away from. But Marco and his expanded security team had kept them safe, and Dante had never wavered in his choice. Chicago was behind them now. The Lincoln Park apartment sold, Northwestern a memory. They'd started fresh in California, new city, new life, new beginning. Maya was finishing her master's degree in pediatric nursing through an online program. She'd accepted a part-time position at a children's hospital in San Francisco, working with families navigating complex medical situations, helping them find resources, hope, solutions, everything she'd needed and couldn't find when Lily was sick. Lily, now 4.5, attended a small private school nearby. She was thriving, healthy, happy, with friends and activities and the kind of carefree childhood Maya had always wanted for her. She called Dante Papa now, had since 6 months ago when he'd officially adopted her. The paperwork sat framed in his office, next to Sophia's picture. "Mama, Papa, look," Lily shouted, pointing at a particularly large butterfly that had landed on her outstretched finger. Dante appeared at Maya's side, his arm sliding around her waist. He'd changed too softer somehow, the hard edges worn away by love and safety and the daily routine of family life. He still woke with nightmares sometimes, still carried the weight of his past. But Maya was there to hold him through it, to remind him who he'd become. "She's beautiful," Dante murmured, watching Lily. "Happy. Everything we wanted." "We did it," Maya replied, leaning into his warmth. "We actually built this." "You built it," Dante corrected. "I just followed where you led." Maya turned in his arms, looking up at the man she loved. "We built it together. That's how this works, remember?" "Together." Dante smiled, that full, unguarded smile that still took her breath away. "Together. I like the sound of that." His hand moved to her stomach, resting there gently. "And soon we'll have even more together." Maya covered his hand with hers, feeling the slight swell that announced the pregnancy they'd confirmed just last week. A brother or sister for Lily, a child they'd chosen together, deliberately, joyfully. "Are you scared?" she asked quietly. "Terrified," Dante admitted, but also excited, happy, grateful beyond words. He kissed her gently. "We're going to give this baby everything. Safety, love, a normal life. No violence, no fear, just family. Just family," Maya agreed. Lily ran up to them, breathless and glowing. "Can we have dinner outside, please? It's so pretty." "Of course, princess," Dante said, sweeping her up into his arms. "Whatever you want." They set up dinner on the terrace, simple pasta, fresh bread, salad from their garden. As the sun set over the vineyards, painting everything gold and rose, the three of them sat together, talking about Lily's day at school, about the Foundation's latest success, and about the baby who would join them in 6 months. This was everything Maya had dreamed of in that hospital courtyard 18 months ago when she'd been breaking, desperate, out of options. This peace, this joy, this family. Dante had saved Lily's life that night. But maybe, Maya thought as she watched him laugh at something Lily said, as she felt the warmth of his hand in hers, as she imagined the future stretching before them bright and full of promise, maybe she'd saved his too. They'd saved each other. Two broken people who'd found each other in darkness, and chosen to build something bright. "What are you thinking about?" Dante asked, catching her expression. "That night in the courtyard," Maya admitted. "How terrified I was. How hopeless everything seemed. How I never could have imagined we'd end up here." Dante's expression grew serious. "Do you regret it? Any of it? The danger, the complications, everything you had to endure?" Maya looked at Lily, giggling over her pasta. At their home, solid and safe. At the life they'd built from impossible circumstances. At Dante, who looked at her like she was the most precious thing in his world. "Not for a second," she said honestly. "I'd do it all again exactly the same way, because it led us here. To this. To us," Dante amended, raising his wine glass. "To family, to second chances, to love that was worth fighting for." Maya clinked her glass against his. "To us," she agreed. As the stars emerged over Napa Valley, as Lily chattered about butterflies and school and all the wonderful normalcy of childhood, as Dante's hand rested protectively over Maya's stomach where their second miracle grew, Maya allowed herself to feel something she'd thought lost forever in that desperate courtyard night. Hope. Pure, uncomplicated, absolutely certain hope for the future. They'd survived the darkness. They'd fought for this light. And now, finally, they got to live in it. Together. Always together. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.